Right, welcome back, and we have with us for discussion for our second segment, the cuts of the Egyptian internet cables, Mr. Adil Khalifa. Doctor, excuse me, okay. Dr. Adil Khalifa, Information and Communication Technology Consultant. We thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And let me understand the circumstances of such cuts, because as some are in the IT technology said that it needs the work of very professionals. I mean here, it needs divers to go deep into the sea. It needs certain machines for heating. What are exactly the circumstances behind such cuts?
Okay. The Egyptian case is one of the cases that could happen. There are, in fact, two cases. But before talking about them, let me tell the audiences about how the internet works. The internet was mainly in the 60s, in 1960s, was established in the United States by the U.S. Army, and then it became civil.
Yes.
And
yes,
for the
we know
universities
that the US is the main provider.
Yeah, and then it spread all over the world. The internet is actually a network that has all the computers, millions of computers and servers all around the world. They are all connected through cable. That cable comes from the United States to other countries, from Europe to other countries, to Asia, to Africa, all over the world. These submarine cables are fiber optics cables, because they have very high speed and efficiency in transmitting the data. And they have 6 layers over it. These 6 layers to protect them in the deep water. And the accident that could happen could cause the damage to this cable. Now, Egypt had 4 points to take the internet from this submarine cable. 2 of them are on the Mediterranean Sea, and 2 on the Suez Canal Gulf. In the first accident that happened a few weeks ago there was a big cargo ship from Panama that was about 90 kilometers from the point where the cable is taken from the main cable for the internet to a city near Alexandria. This cable, 2 cables were cut. The reason for the cut that they were trying to avoid the bad weather by sending let me read I think I have.
Yes.
There were 2 cables. The cable called the European Indian Gateway, this is ETG, and the second one is ET North. The bristle or the boot anchor was dropped to this location, and they caused the damage to the connection.
The cable.
The connection cable from this ETG and ET North to Egypt. So they were cut. This is an accident.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think this is a government owned cable by Telecom Egypt, and they are raising a claim against this Panamanian.
Yes, but what kind of claim would they raise? I mean here, in the international waters, it is a very well-known fact that there should be marks
There is
international marks that clarify that this place has certain urgent cable or whatsoever that belongs to a country, I
That's
mean
right.
here. So
they violating this case. You are not supposed to park there at that area.
I mean here that the Panama cruiser or ship or whatsoever, this ship has
huge
violated
cargo.
Yes.
And that's why Egypt want to claim
to sue
them and claim the case and ask them for compensation for both, for the damage that happened to the cable, because it's very expensive to repair, and the second thing is the damage that has happened to the Egyptian economy and the users due to the slowdown of the internet.
Especially that we are all dependent on the internet, especially what concerns huge companies in the stock market and all this.
That's right.
What is the circumstances of
the second case? I think they are still investigating, but it happened near Alexandria. This is the second location on the Mediterranean Sea where we have cable connecting to the mainstream submarine cable, which is coming from Europe all the way to Malaysia and Indonesia, through the Red Sea and the ocean.
This very special case raises many question marks here. Supposedly that the cable's locations are not very much known. So if those divers were found guilty, then they should have gone through the information of the location of those cables. How could such information reach those people?
Well, we have to look and see, but in fact, it might not be a secret, because like the case of the Panamanian cargo ship, they know that this is a prohibited area, that you should not approach it. So possibly they know, but also the Egyptian Navy, this is the second case happened, they were very cautious, and they discovered the case of these two persons, and we don't know how
investigations will still reveal what will happen, or if they are really charged with such issues. They denied the charge, by the way, and they said that they were trying to save some wrecks of some drowning ships. We have yet to understand what is it all about, but this was not the first two cases, and there were two other cases, one in 2010, the other was in 2008, but the most important of which was that in 2010.
Yes, because there are three cables.
Three cables were cut. Two in the Mediterranean Sea and one in the Red Sea.
No, both of them are on the Mediterranean Sea.
Two in the Mediterranean, and the third was in the Red Sea.
No, the three that happened this year.
No, I'm speaking about the incident in 2010.
Oh, okay.
Where three cables were cut. And this was a very serious one, because it really damaged, made severe damage at that point. And even there was a theory at then that the United States and Israel were trying to see if they can really cut the internet from the Middle East and the North African region or not. But nothing. The authorities revealed nothing about the incidents or about the investigations or what happened after. Do we have to know about this?
I just want to mention something. The case of this year, I don't know exactly about the 2010, but the case of this year, the damage is not on the main submarine cable. It is on the connection from the point of that main cable and going to Egypt. So this is the cable that has the damage. Otherwise, it will cut the internet to the rest of the users. One of these cables is coming from France, going through Egypt to Lebanon. So Lebanon was not affected. The other one is coming from Europe, going all the way through the Red Sea to India. So both India and Lebanon was not affected. So the damage did not happen in the main cable, but it happened in the cable that connects the point for Egypt to Egypt.
Right. If this case emerge once again, maybe through violations by other propelled ships or cargoes or whatsoever, what kind of alternatives can we give here?
Okay.
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 Can we give here?
Okay. It's not like Europe and the United States. They have the fiber optics network all over the country, in all Europe and the United States. It reaches every small village. But still we have a problem that we do not have this fiber optics network. We are using the normal telephone cable to reach homes through the ADSL, which carry both, carry the telephone line and the internet. So in isolated areas where there are no telephone lines, this satellite internet is the best choice. But I don't think it will compensate. The only solution that we should participate in several main submarine lines, so that if one has a problem, then we can use the other. Until now, we have 4. 2 on the Suez Canal and 2 on the Mediterranean Sea.
What about if we can just increase the number of those sub-cables?
Yeah, of course. They are, I think the Telecom Egypt is responsible for this as the governmental organization responsible for this. And as I mentioned, they have 4 points to take from the several main submarine cables.
But just for the knowledge of people, we have no other alternatives at the meantime.
No.
No. So if the cables are cut, we will be cut from the world.
Of course. This is the internet is becoming like the water and the electricity. And I think there will be severe damage to the economy of any country who will have this
exactly.
cut of the
now,
internet.
This is why I was going to ask you, sir, about how will this reflect on the Egyptian economy at this stage? I mean.
Yeah, I have some data that the development in the Egyptian use of the internet has drastically increased in the last 10 years. And I think starting from 2002 until now, we reached about 2,700 megabits per second. To make it simple, if you have ICDL, I mean the connection of the internet, ACDL, the ADSL at home, you are using about 2 megapixels per second. So the total for Egypt now is 2,500 megapixels per second.
Yes. So if the cables are cut for an instant, the whole stock market is capitalized on their internet
Not only the stock market, the banks, the companies, even the communication now is
even
done.
hospitals.
Hospitals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then what can be a solution to this? What can be a real solution for this?
Well, I was asking for many years that we should have a backup plan for a case like this by having some compensation for the internet locally in Egypt. It means that we can communicate with each other, and this network is connected to the internet. But I have an idea, but I don't know how much is it valid or how much it's expensive. But if something like that happened for a long time, there will be a severe damage to the economy.
It will certainly. In the meantime, and since we cannot have alternatives, or at least not on the short-term period, then how at least can we stop such incidents of cutting cable from, 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 such incidents. We really cannot have a solution for such a problem. I mean, here, how can the whole country with all its institutions and authorities cannot have a solution for such an issue? We cannot just end this episode in a very pessimistic way like this.
Yes, there is hypothetical theory. I mentioned that we could have something local network.
Yes, but that
Egypt.
will not connect us to the
It's
world.
not connected to the world. But without having connection by any of the two means, by satellite or by the cable, there are no other.
So you mean the only alternative that we have is to connect through the satellite?
Yeah. But
So can you tell us more details about connecting through the satellite?
well, there are big companies. I think the companies who are working in Egypt, they are based in Europe. And they are connecting the internet to the several places through satellites, which has a fixed orbit, and they send the signal to these satellites, and this satellite will reflect it back to the places of their customers.
I mean, here we're speaking here about the local computers at home, but what about, I mean, here our mobile and cellular phones and all this, they are all connected through the satellite, right?
No, the mobile is mobile are using the internet through the 3G. Through the
Yes.
the network of the mobile network.
So we're still not up to this.
This is a mobile network is run by one of the service providers of the mobile, and they can provide the internet through the 3G.
Will a trial to have this alternative of connecting through the satellite cost Egypt much money?
It's a lot. I think it's very, very expensive because this service is not spread because of the cost. But it will not replace the internet coming through the submarine cables.
Right. Unfortunately, this is the case. I'm not very much satisfied, nor I guess our audience would be very much with our very limited resources that we have for the net, and it's very important for our lives nowadays. Hopefully, the government and the authorities would find a solution to such a huge problem, but at least we have exposed such a problem.
Yeah, it happened several times, and maybe through cooperation between the Arab countries, they probably will have a wider exposure to the internet coming through the submarine cables, so that they can compensate the loss if they are connected together.
Yes.
This could be
the only alternative.
The only alternative, but we have to be working together for such thing and be ready to develop such possibility.
Right. Dr. Adil Khalifa, Information and Communication Technology Consultant, we thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, unfortunately this is the case. We are raising the matter for the government to take its measures required, because internet is making the world a small village. Hopefully a solution would be found. Tomorrow would be with other colleague, other topics, and until tomorrow it's goodbye.